Good morning, all. Just give it a few more minutes to let anyone else join that we're waiting. Hope you're having a lovely morning so far, though. Hopefully, you're all keeping a little bit warmer and next to the woods of where you guys are. For people that don't know me, I'm Adam. I'm part of the sales team. I'm going to be here to assist with Harry and just be here to answer any questions that you may have, but also prompt Harry on the questions that come in through on the Q&A. So please feel free to raise any questions that you have throughout the call, and we can visit those questions towards the end of the call. But this call is going to be looking at the overview dashboard and the warehouse dashboards. Harry, if you want to give yourself an introduction, and then feel free to start.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining as well. Appreciate it. If you've not heard or seen from me before, I'm just Harry from the Helm onboarding team. And as Adam said, I just thought it's worth going over dashboard management, but also our custom dashboard tool. Now, on the custom dashboard tool, I will jump into it, but there's obviously more specific things you can do there as well, and just how that may eliminate any things that are coming up in your day-to-day, even just getting that sort of real-time insight into current orders in the system and where they are at the moment. But yeah, so just jump into it. I'm just sharing my screen now, so you should be able to see my systems dashboard. And of course, just want to say, like Adam said, if you do have any questions, just let us know and we can hopefully get them answered for you. Now, my dashboard itself is a bit chaotic, to be honest, because it's my test system. But by default, you'll have on here your dispatch ready, picking, packing, cancelled orders, dispatched orders, that sort of thing. Now, if you're not aware, essentially what these are just order statuses in the system that give you an insight into current orders that are in that status in your system. Now, there's a lot of ways you can configure this because it's completely custom. So in order for you to, first of all, create a status on here, you just need to go into settings. And then if we go into our status manager here, you will see a list of all the statuses in your system and a quick overview of them here. Now, if you want to create your own custom status, I think we did touch a bit on this last week as well. You can go into create status here, make sure you define it as an order status. And then this is completely free text. So this can be anything you like. It's as simple as just typing in the color to change the status preview here. And then this is the important bit. So if you do want this to show on your warehouse dashboard, it's just show on dashboard, yes. And then that status that you create here will be showing on that dashboard. Now our icons, you can get these from Font Awesome here. There is a list of icons available there, and it is as simple as just typing in, when you have found one, the relevant code for that. And then you will get a little preview here just to know that it's valid as a heads up. You can use standard ones and you can use pro ones, but you can't use the pro plus ones as a heads up as well if you are looking through this icon page. Now, if you're a 3PL system, you do have the additionals of enabling that for clients, but this won't be there if you're just a non-3PL system as a heads up. Now, the sort is just basically defining where it's going to land on your dashboard. Obviously 0 being at the top left, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth as it goes down. Now, you do define certain elements to the status, i.e. do you want this to be a hidden status in the system so you can't see this? Pick creation print is what it says there. Do you want this to, if an order is in this status, do you want to be able to create picks for it? Do you want to print from the status, split orders, and do you want to be able to dispatch from that status? It is good if you want some restriction on there. So, you know, if you've got a status for like errors in the system, or you want to put something in a status where then you want that security of no one can dispatch directly from that status, then you can use these to help define that as well. And then you would create that status, and then that would show on your dashboard. Now, the reasons why you may want to use this, for example, I've got a back order here, which is actually done by a system setting automatically. So I know that any orders coming in, if I don't have the stock to fulfill those orders, it'll move them into that back order status essentially. So I can get a heads up on the orders which I don't have stock in for. Then I can just put that stock in. And when I've got that stock in, it'll just move it back to dispatch ready, right? Now, potentially you maybe want to create your picks off the back of the courier services. So what I could look at doing is I could create a status like I've just shown, but I could do that for, let's say, Royal Mail, 0 to 2 kg and then 2 to 10 kg, that sort of thing. So I can see on my dashboard straight away that I've got orders going into 0 to 2, 2 to 10, that sort of thing. Now, obviously you can do it at that level, and then that allows you to go to an order, for example, and then I can go to this order and I can set that status, right? If you want to automate that a little bit, which is probably the best option, unless you want it to be more of a manual process, then you can go into settings again, and then that's when you would create an order rule. So if I go into here to create a rule, so let's say this is my Royal Mail 0 to 2 kg orders, right? So my field would probably be the order weight, for example, if that's what I'm going with. And I can just say if it's equal or less than 2, because I'm going to say this is my 0 to 2 kg, right? The main thing is you'd update order status, and then you'll have this new status section here, and you'll get a nice form with all the statuses that exist in your system. So if I did create one for this, I could select this here, save that rule, and then the system would be looking at those orders coming in. If it's less than 2 kg, it would move it to that status on my dashboard, and it'll just sort and filter my orders for me. Now, it could look a bit messy like mine does, because I've got a lot of statuses going on here. Reason for it, to be honest with you, is just testing different scenarios, that sort of thing. Just before I jump on to the next dashboard, which I want to show you, is there any questions on some problems you're having at the moment when you've got orders coming in? Let's say you've got them all sitting in dispatch ready, but maybe you would rather that pre-filter somewhere else, to a different status or anything like that. Just wondering if there's anything relevant there, guys, and I can maybe help to advise. Let's have a look, see if there's anything in the Q&A.
Nothing as yet, Harry.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, guys, as Harry was saying, the dashboard view here is a great tool to be able to have a really quick overview of the different types of orders as soon as you log in the mornings. So if you wanted to have that ability to see a snapshot view of different types of orders, you can use those statuses and order rules to have that automation. So rather than having to go into that dispatch ready and filter by your save filters, you've got a nice, crisp, clean view on that front dashboard to be able to manage your workflows so much more efficiently. So yeah, please feel free to raise any questions that you have. I'm more than happy to answer them for you.
Yeah, exactly that. As Adam said, it's just a way to get that live insight and just to help eliminate any errors that could potentially be happening. So obviously this is your dashboard in Helm. Now we do have a plugin that you can enable. So if we go to settings, go into our plugin store here, guys, and then we have the custom dashboard picking. So this is essentially another dashboard you can create. So if you click into here, if you haven't already got this, and then you can install here. Once it's installed, as with any plugins, just as a heads up, if it's not showing on this left hand side, just give your page a refresh and then it'll pop up down here on the left hand menu. So I'm going to go into my custom dashboard here now. This is great as well if you don't maybe want to overpopulate your dashboard in Helm, but then you could have this warehouse dashboard which you could create loads of statuses on, so it just keeps it cleaner and it's in a separate section rather than just being on your main dashboard. You could maybe look at having this warehouse dashboard. It's great if you could have this up on a POS in the warehouse or somewhere where the pickers and packers can see this screen, so they can just look at that and they can see straight away where orders are and things like that. So this is one that I've set up. Obviously it's completely custom again. Now, if I just walk through these settings, some scenarios that I feel like could be quite useful, and also it does give you that insight as a heads up as well into where items are being picked by the user. Obviously they're packed by the user, but then also at an order level as well. So it does also give you a daily insight into that as well. But if I go into my settings, you'll be greeted with all of these tiles. So these are the tiles that you can set, which just relate back to here. Now I'll just go over the different types that exist here. So obviously disabled just means you don't want this tile, so it just hides it. Status, going back to what we said earlier. So you'll get a list of all your statuses that you've created. So this is where maybe you want to create a few custom statuses, guys, just to have that here on that list. For example, again, maybe you want to isolate your top selling products. So let's say you know that you've got 3 or 4 top selling items, you could create a custom status for that. And then you could have a status on this dashboard just highlighting orders with those top seller items so you can prioritize them. Now, let's say in here, I want to show all of my single products A, for example. It's as simple as that. So now if I go back to my dashboard, I can see there it's created that for me. Now, some of these are actually quite useful, I would say, is you've got the orders received. So this is the type, but then the title is what you want to show on that custom dashboard. I've already got one set up over here for dispatched orders, orders received here. Now the icon just comes back again to that same place I showed you earlier on the custom statuses. The abbreviation for it is always starting with FA, guys. For example, I could do, I've got here FA sharp, cart plus, FA stop. If you're unsure on these icons, obviously, if you can go to that website, I'll actually go back to it for you guys in a second. I'll just have to reshare it, that's all. So if I go into our statuses, there we go. So we've got font awesome icons here. And I'll just share that window with you guys 1 second. Make sure you can all see that for you. So this is font awesome, guys. So it is as simple as just searching what kind of icon you're looking for. So let's say I'm just going to search for shipping, for example. And then it'll search for any icons that sort of match that search. As I say, you can use the Pro and you can use the standard. There is some that say Pro Plus, so them ones will not be supported. But for example, if I wanted this icon here, I would just click on this. It does show you the HTML here. You can just click and that copies it. And then if I just jump back onto my warehouse for you, and I can show you what that looks like. There we go. So now, if I was to go back to my custom dashboard, go rid of that, go back to my settings, we'll go back to the one that I was setting up for, let's say, orders received. I can just paste that in there, just get rid of all the extra bits, just keep it where it starts with FA, and then that will be supported as a valid icon now. As I say, title is just what you want to show. Again, it is free text, so it can be anything you like. And then now if I go to my dashboard, I will be able to see that here. Now, the other types, which I do think if you're wanting to prioritize, like first in, first out logic maybe, or just prioritize those orders where they could potentially be going overdue by X amount of hours, and you want something where the guys can look at that and see we've got 10 orders here, they've been sat in this status for 2 hours, we haven't done anything with them, we need to get them out, then you can set up also an overdue orders function. Title is just the same again, it is just free text, guys. Icon is the same again, so it's just that icon from that website. Now, if you're just not too sure what that website was called, by the way, guys, it was just called Font Awesome. That's all it is. So if you Google that one, you can see it as well. And then include, so you can have as many in the include as you like. Essentially, this is just saying, okay, what are we including as an overdue order? So I'm going to say maybe my dispatch ready orders, my orders that are maybe in single products, things like this, or essentially it just goes off the back of the ones that you're creating as statuses, right? So right now I'm saying to look at VIP, dispatch ready. I want to say if the order's been sat in there for maybe, let's say, longer than 5 hours, then I want that to flag up under the overdue order status. So if I go back into here now, I can see that's coming up as 16, and that'll just be because I've had orders sat in there longer than 5 hours. So that's why it's highlighting them to me. And the last one that I think I just skipped over there is just to dispatch today, which is as simple as what's been dispatched today. Now, as I say, there is further settings to this, so you do get the sort of reporting side of things where you can see by the user. So if you have separate user accounts for everyone in your warehouse, then this will be definitely a great tool as well, just to get a quick insight into what items, how, so let's say Harry's performing, and he's not doing too well because he's not picked any orders today. And then obviously you've got the packed orders, which is I've dispatched 56 orders, right? As I say, it just gives you a great insight into that. So is there any questions on how you can optimize this? If you have a certain scenario that you'd like to set up on a dashboard, so you've got that quick insight, maybe what scenario is that looking like top seller items, things like that. I'd be happy to help answer those questions, guys, on how you can get there.
So, Harry, we do have a question in from Tim.
Perfect.
So first question is regarding the dashboard, the overview dashboard page. So Tim uses Dropship products, which obviously as the orders are coming through, there is no stock to be allocated. So they are going straight into on hold.
Yeah.
It seems that they do have a drop shipping status, and he's asking, is this something that they can resolve? So an order's coming into the system that obviously doesn't have stock because it's drop shipped. It's going straight into on hold. I'm guessing that is due to the insufficient status that's been selected at the sales channel. So straight away that can be resolved, but not for, obviously that's for insufficient and drop shipping.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, if you can explain to Tim a couple of scenarios about changing the status on the sales channel, or how those order rules can help update those orders automatically into that drop ship stage, that'd be lovely.
Yeah, as you just touched on there, Adam, there is a setting at a sales channel level. So if I go into settings here and I go into my sales channels, you can go into the relevant channel. So I'm going to just go into my Shopify, for example, because let's say I only have my dropship items on my PC store. You can edit your channel here, and then under settings, there is a default setting here. So just to clarify, edit channel settings, if you scroll down, guys, you first of all, you have what status do you want insufficient stock levels to go into. So by default, it'll just say dispatch ready. But if you wanted to set this up on the back of a different status in your system, you can just define this here. Now, the thing is, in that scenario, Tim, because I do remember we did a few things with that previously, you may not want to just assume if it doesn't have stock, it's going to dropship, unless you're finding that, of course, it's usually the case and it is always dropship. Then you can just set it at a channel level here, and that'll just follow suit as you set here. Just off topic, in case someone's not aware of this, you do also have a timeout period on your channels that is defaulted to 2. So if you do want to increase that timeout period, you can increase that here. All it means is if an order's come in and you've not done anything with it for 2 days, it's just going to move it into the timeout status, which will be on hold again by default. In answer to that question, Tim, you can obviously set a default off the back of a channel here, and that is channel specific. Or what I would probably look at is the order rules section. So obviously you would first create that custom status for dropship orders, right? So we'd create that in status manager. We'd create one in here for dropship orders. Then off the back of that, once you've got that enabled on your dashboard, then we would just go into the order rules if you want to be able to automate that as well. Now, obviously it is dependent on the best way for you to approach this. It could be, if you've got a lot of dropship items, then maybe you don't want to do it by product SKU and you could do it by tag, that sort of thing. But I'll show you what I mean. If I was to set up a dropship order rule, so there's a few conditions you can look at. Now, obviously you've got product SKU contains or equal to. If all your dropship items, for example, had a SKU that starts with a common prefix, let's say, then you could do something very simple with product SKU starts with, and then I could say DS for dropship, right? This would then highlight all of those items straight away for you. So if you do have that on your sales channel, then that would be beneficial. But if not, then you can be specific with it and just contains like equal to in the condition. Or you can do that product SKU list, which is just, I believe, if I go into here for you, a second. So it would be where you'd have SKU 1, comma, not space separated, I believe, and you can go through that way. But as I say, it may be easier from like a channel perspective if you can just change the SKU to have a common prefix that it starts with, and then you could just do something as simple as SKU and then just starts with, and then those abbreviations. Then of course your action would just be updating, and then you would select that dropship status that you've created. Another way you could look at doing it is you could look at the tags. So I don't know what channel that's coming from, but I know with Shopify, they have a lot of stuff you can do with rules. So you could have a Shopify rule, for example, that tags those items. Then off the back of that, you have this rule in Helm that looks at those order tags. And then it would then just maybe be easier for you to set it up as a rule on the sales channel, for example, so it just tags those orders for you. Then we can look at that tag in the order, and then we can update the status of dropshipping essentially. So there's a few ways you can approach it. Obviously, if you've got like 80 items that you drop ship, it may be more labor intensive if you're doing a SKU list and typing all those out. So that's where I'd maybe look at having a tag system, or maybe changing the prefix on the SKU just to make it simpler, really, more than anything. But yeah, let me know if that doesn't make sense, Tim. I'll be happy to further explain on some of those.
Thank you so much, Harry. We do have another question in the chat from Zara, just asking how to create and update the warehouse customs dashboard, as she can't seem to find this.
Okay.
So
yeah.
I believe it's that plugin one that you were showing us a minute ago. So if you can just show us again how to locate that and install it, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, first of all, you want to log into your system. And then if you go down here to the bottom left into settings, in your settings page, you do have the plugin store. It is worth noting as well. Obviously, depends on your user level in the system, because you will need admin to be able to see this plugin store. But if you can't see the plugin store here, then I would, if you can get the relevant person to have a look at your permissions, then they can increase those. But if you can see it, just click into plugin store here. And the plugin you are looking for is the custom dashboard picking. So it's this plugin here, just click into it. You can just install. You don't need to launch it directly from here every time. Once you've installed it, if you just refresh your page, then it'll show down here like it does for me. So then I've got my customs dashboard here. And as I say, by default, they'll all be disabled, right? And it's just a case of going through, highlighting what you want to track in your system, and taking it from there, really. What I will say is, if you are thinking of these things that we've said today, like top selling items, maybe overdue orders, things like that, make sure you've got all the custom statuses created first as well, because obviously I can't go into status and highlight a status if I've not created it first, if that makes sense. And also order wise, guys, let's say I just enable this fourth one across on my dashboard, it's just going to put it at the front, if that makes sense. So don't worry about the order so much. And then if I was to say pop something in here, then it's just going to appear after overdue orders, but before single product A. So that's how it works out.
Thank you so much, Harry. We do have some
worries.
questions in the Q&A section as well, so sorry that we missed these. So Ahmed Abbas, having issues with HS codes for orders, can you just it's different topic to what we're talking about now, but can you just quickly review on how you would do a mass import for HS codes
yeah,
for Helm, please?
Yeah. So I'll cover three things for that. As Adam mentioned, your best bet's probably a mass one for that one, but you can just go into inventory if it's just a few key items, search for those items, go into manage inventory here, and you do have that HS code field here where you can change against that item. One other thing before I go into the way to do that in bulk is you can also set defaults in Helm. So if I go to settings, general settings, defaults, in here, we will have a default for the HS code. Now, the only thing with having defaults is, of course, it's only going to really work for you if you're selling the same sort of items for the commodity codes, things like that. If you've got varying items, I would not advise this, obviously, because you don't want to be incorrectly declaring this. So default's great if it is generally the same default across the board with your inventory. So just take caution with this one. Essentially, all it means is if you don't provide a HS code, then we'll use the default value here, right? Now, to do this in bulk, if you just go to imports, exports, and inventory, what you want to do is just scroll down here, download inventories. So I'll just download that one. I actually have an example file that I can open up for you guys, so I'll just get that sorted for you, just to show you. You just give me 2 ticks, and then we can have a look at that. Let me get that open for you. All right, I'm just going to reshare my screen on this Excel sheet for you. Let's go into there. So when you run the export, it will export everything currently in your system. This is one that I've just annotated. Obviously, it won't be with any of this, and it'll just have the headers, right? But when you do your export, you'll have a list of all your items here with all of their relevant information. If you just go across here, you will see a column for the HS code. And then this is where you would just populate that HS code against a relevant SKU on the left. Once you're happy, you've got everything in there, you just need to save that as a CSV type. And then if I just jump back to my Helm screen, there we go. And then once you're back in Helm and you've saved it as a CSV, you're just going to go back to imports, exports, inventory, select the file. So you would just upload that file, pop that in there, upload and process. Then it will ask you to submit map data. Now let me actually pop in a CSV example that I've got just to show you what submitting map data looks like. 1 second. I'm pretty sure I should have a CSV here somewhere. There we go. There we go. So if you upload and process, make sure it's a general inventory type. You'll get a screen like this, which is just essentially taking the data and what column that's looking at in the spreadsheet. Now you'll notice that some have a red asterisk. That means it's a required column. If it doesn't have a red asterisk, it's not a required column, i.e. you can just delete those columns off that sheet and it won't duplicate or anything like that. If the SKU already exists, it'll just simply update that SKU. And then once you're happy, submit map data, and then that'll change that in bulk for you. Do let us know if anything wasn't too clear there. I'll be happy to explain that for you. Just go back into our...
Excellent. Is there any further questions that you'd like us to answer while we're on this call today, guys? Please feel free to add them into the questions. Zara, you got your hand up? Okay, just seeing the question. So, Harry, a bit of a random one. If we wanted to bulk update packing instructions for specific clients, is there a way to do this opposed to product by product basis?
So if I go into your settings here and general settings, so I'm assuming obviously we're referring to
the actual packing instructions by product.
Yeah. So obviously here is where you would create those instructions first of all. Just if anyone wasn't too sure, you can create that in system settings here. And then you can add your packing instructions here. Then once you have got all your packing instructions in the system, you can go into your inventory. If it's enabled for that item, you can manage that item. And then you can set your packing instructions here. In terms of doing this in bulk, Adam, are you aware of the best method for that one?
I don't believe we have that bulk option. It's something that would probably need to be raised as a feature request through the product team.
Absolutely. If it's something obviously these meetings are good for just showing you're on the system, but it's also good to get that feedback as well.
Absolutely, Zara. So we can definitely raise that with the team internally to see what actions can be done to support doing this in bulk. We just don't have a question. We don't have the answer to it right now because at the moment it is a product by product basis. Is there any other questions regarding today's call or anything else while we're here that you may have a question about? If not, we'd love to thank you all for attending. And if you want to give us any feedback on how you felt this call went, if you have any areas that you feel you'd like to touch base on, there's lots of new features that have been rolled out over the last couple of months. We're more than happy to do these sorts of webinars for those new features, or again, just looking for feedback from you guys as customers to see what you want us to be showing you around in a lot more detail on these one-to-one webinars. But yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to your support team. They'll be able to support you in any way, shape or form. There's no such thing as a little question or a big question. But we will let you finish off the rest of your day and enjoy the rest of your week.
So thanks, guys.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you all for joining.
Cheers, everyone.
Take care.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye.